So hey guys, and welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Cudos versus Baumstarh fight. And so if you are new around here and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do indeed like the video, and let's get straight into it. So this fight is the fight in which is going to clear out the world vacant titles in the minimum weight division. That being, of course, after Sinisa Estrada vacated them back in October. It's been very quick to see realistically the speed in which all of the belts have gone, and it's been interesting to see the names that have popped up to go and claim them. Of course, we had the expected one with Valle that was very quickly made, and so that was interesting to see, and it was against a much lesser opponent, and it was a very easy win for herself. And to be fair, there hasn't really been too much rumours of who she might fight next. But then you looked at another one of the belts being picked up. I believe it was the WBO one being picked up by Sarah Borman. That was another fighter in which I personally did expect to come and pick up a minimum weight title. I think she is a very good fighter, and in the minimum weight division has been looking like a threat, and in my opinion is the toughest test that Valle has in the minimum weight division currently. And then we just saw a couple of weeks ago Yuko Kuroki coming and picking up the WBA title, and that was a surprising one. A name in which hasn't really had too much success at the highest of levels. She has fought there, but like I say, it hasn't always kind of gone into her favour. But she was able to come in and pick up the title, and now she's a world champion. And so it's, like I said, interesting to see how these fighters are even finding themselves in these opportunities. And obviously, there's a few names now, and it's interesting to see, I suppose, to an extent, because before, obviously, Sinisa Estrada was undisputed champion, so there was only, her and Valle that were the kind of notable names in the division. Now, because Estrada has vacated, we now have these new names coming out, and these new threats, I suppose, and these fighters in which haven't really had this same level of attention, and would never have really even been probably given the opportunity to fight somebody like a Sinisa Estrada. I don't believe either of these two would have been given that opportunity. I don't believe Yuko Kuroki would have been given that opportunity. Sarah Borman perhaps, but like I say, I feel like it's now opened up the avenue for these new fighters to become the next Sinisa Estrada, to get given the opportunity to become a world champion and then try and go undisputed. And there's multiple different routes in which they can do that, and perhaps it has made the division more exciting in that aspect, the fact that there is more names, more champions. Of course, like I say, it's been very quick to see how we've had all the belts individually fought for and picked up within just a few months. October, about 5-6 months. And so it's just been a very quick process. But obviously, like I say, I think personally that brings more of an entertaining element, because we get to learn about these new fighters, and like I say, get seen fighters who we may have never seen at a world level. But at the same time, like I've been touching upon, because there are just these limited recognizable names in the minimum weight division now, I feel like the events that they're fighting on for these world titles have definitely declined and dropped off. The levels of them, they're not on big kind of broadcasting shows. They're not being fought for on Top Rank or PBC or anything like that. Realistically, I mean, Kuroki fought out in Japan on a small show. This is a small show as well in Argentina. It's very good to see Argentina getting the option to go and fight for a world title in their home countries of both Cudos and Baumstarh. It's nice to see Argentina getting given this as a world title, because I mean, this is the first women's minimum weight world title in Argentina, and it would be the first Argentinian, from what I believe, world minimum weight champion ever. And so that's record breaking in that aspect. But Argentina is definitely a country in which have bred some excellent fighters over the years, and have always been very loyal, like pretty much most countries from South America, as consistently bringing out fighters who are going to be prospects or are going to test prospects, and so they definitely deserve to have their recognition. Like I say, perhaps they haven't always been able to in Argentina, but now this may be a change of things, and like I say, it's giving fighters these more opportunities, like I've been talking about. But like I say, the levels of events have dropped significantly, and also the attention from fans, I believe, as well has dropped. Obviously, if we're wanting to see the kind of next big thing in the minimum weight division, we're going to have to be patient. I think it's definitely not going to come straight away. I think Valle is going to have to really go and aim to become undisputed. But like I say, her last fight wasn't on a big show either. And I don't even know what's happening with her and PBC, if they're wanting to put her on cards, or, with Golden Boy, if Golden Boy are wanting to put her on shows. I'm not too sure what's happening, but there is definitely that market there for her to go and try and become undisputed and beat four champions, or three other champions, and that would be a great mark to set, and perhaps put her in them high up pound for pound rankings. But there is also a chance for one of them to cause an upset versus Valle, and then to become that bit more of a notable name as a result. And we're just going to have to wait and see, I think, because this division is in a bit of an interesting position at the moment, as we are, like I say, waiting to see what's happened, as the shock retirements from Estrada still kind of lingers in the background of the fans' eyes who did care about the minimum weight women's division. But perhaps also at the same time, you kind of do have to argue that it is much easier now to become a champion in this division at the moment, which is going to make sense when all the vacant titles are on the line. It is going to be easier. I mean, we saw it with Inoue when he moved up from bantamweight and vacated. There was a few fighters who, were able to pick up the world titles who perhaps never would have been able to when Inoue was champion, and it's kind of like the similar kind of thing here. Now Estrada's left, other fighters can come and get given this opportunity as well. But I definitely believe that both of these fighters have the capabilities in the minimum weight division to really be entertaining. I mean, Cudos is coming off back-to-back stoppages, and Baumstarh's seven out of the last 10 have been stoppages as well. So both of these fighters really have that ability to be able to come and create entertainment. I mean, Estrada wasn't really especially known for her stoppages, neither has been Valle. But if there is somebody here who is able to come and really put on good stoppages, and why not, welcome them into these big fights? And hopefully we'll see a stoppage with this one. I think that would definitely strike a claim and really make a mark. Obviously, the fighters in which they have been getting stoppages against as of recent, both of these fighters, they've been against, obviously much lesser opponents, and so it's not, again, got given that recognition. But I think also the fact that neither of them have left Argentina, it's been hard for them to, again, get that recognition. If this was any other women's fighter going and getting these stoppages, perhaps they would have been given the credit that bit more. But like I said, this is a real big chance at a world level for one of these fighters to go out and get a stoppage, and I would personally be very excited to see the possibilities of this ending in a stoppage, and like I say, what could happen as a result of that. Cudos, just to give a kind of based overview of the fight, Cudos is 9-0-2 with 3 KOs, and Baumstarh is 12-6-1 with 8 KOs. This fight is for the vacant IBF World Minimum Weight title. Cudos' last fight was a win via TKO in round 5 versus Zuniga, and Baumstarh's last fight was a win via TKO in round 3 versus Colmer Neres. Baumstarh's losses have come versus Alan Nees in 2021 and in 2019, Granandino in 2021, Gomez in 2020, Marino in 2019, and Pacheco also in 2019. And so, like I say, it's perhaps an interesting fight. You do kind of argue that Baumstarh, just on a base, kind of looking at her record, is she deserving of that, of a world title? But in my opinion, yes, definitely. There has been, especially in recent times, I suppose throughout most of women's boxing world championship level history at the moment, there has been the case quite often where we're seeing fighters get given the opportunities to fight for world titles when they don't really deserve it, to be completely honest. I'm not trying to be horrible, but just the records and the runs in which they're on hasn't been great. They've had quite a lot of losses on their record, and they haven't really been that long ago, these losses, and so they just haven't really warranted going and giving a world title fight. And, like I say, from the outside looking in, you would think that with Baumstarh, but also, like I say, she's on a 10-fight win streak, with 7 of them being knockouts. Since coming into the minimum weight division, she has looked excellent and has been looking like she has that knockout ability and has that power different to that of pretty much every other women's fighter in the minimum weight division. And she obviously has had losses, and quite a few much earlier on in her career. I mean, Alanis twice, there's no real discredit to that. She has been in some excellent fights, Alanis. I mean, obviously, the first fight versus Esparza was a great fight. Obviously, she lost that one, but then was able to avenge it very well in that second fight versus Esparza, and has just recently gone and lost quite badly, to be honest, versus Gabriela Fundora. But still, she has been a world level name, and like I say, there's no discredit to that. A few of the other names are just Argentinian fighters, but she was fighting at flyweight, light flyweight, trying to find a weight in which is perfect for her, and I believe that this definitely can be. And Kudos is going to be an interesting test. I mean, of course, she is undefeated. She is, again, like I say, coming off back-to-back stoppages, is in the high of her career. She seems to have her power coming through at the same time as well, only having, like I've mentioned, them 3 stoppages in her whole career, 2 of them being the last 2 fights. It shows that that power is coming through, or I suppose just to an extent that she's able to utilize it better. And that last performance versus Zuniga, she was able to turn it up when necessary, and she was able to punish Zuniga and looked good when she was doing so. Throughout a lot of the fight in the lead up to that, she was smothering quite a lot of her work in close, but when things got going and she was allowed that bit more space, she was able to pretty much instantly shut out and nullify Zuniga and then get the stoppage pretty much straight away. And so you've got to give her credit for that, and it was, again, like I say, an impressive performance. It wasn't like a big knockout punch where you're going to be seeing them fly to the floor or anything like that, but it's still a stoppage win from just landing the better shots, clean on the button shots against somebody like Zuniga. And Baumstar's last win, again, like I say, a TKO performance as well. She was able to drop Coleman Nares, I believe, a couple of times, and before she was able to get the eventual knockout victory. And it was definitely that more so convincing of a win than that of Kudos, but Kudos has the momentum of, like I've touched upon, the stoppages, and also the fact that she is undefeated at the same time. So, you of course argue perhaps Baumstarh has nothing to lose. She has that mindset. There's 6 defeats in her record. She's coming into the minimum weight division. She perhaps wasn't expecting to get to this far and to even get given an opportunity at a world title at some point in her career. I'm sure after them 6 defeats, she wasn't really even thinking that that would be a possibility. But now things have happened, and it seems like she is just taking each fight as it comes and is really just willed to walk through anything. And she definitely is a strong willed, strong mindset type of fighter. And I suppose just to touch more upon each fighter individually, we'll start off with Kudos. She starts straight on the front foot. I believe both of these fighters do, and for the most part, they both want to control a center, and they have that kind of front foot pressure ability to be able to control the center. And we'll have to see which one is more able to do so. Perhaps that Baumstarh might be able to, because I believe, I don't know the official numbers of height and reach, but I believe Baumstarh is the bigger fighter, coming down, of course, from the heavier weight, and she has been, like I say, looking very imposing when she has been on the front foot in her fights. But Kudos, of course, isn't really too used to fighting the back foot, so she will contest that of the front foot, I'm for sure. She is patient in her shots, and I think she also catches shots well. I believe, again, both of them catch shots well, and perhaps Kudos is that bit more patient in her work, but she does, in my opinion, probably fight best at a mid-range, or at least when she's trying to be patient, she can fight better at a mid-range. I think she can sometimes struggle to find her range, but when she's in close, she can also smother her work, and not throw too much and get caught in a clinch and not really do too much other than the occasional kind of thud to the body while she's in a clinch. And so it's interesting to see. I don't know necessarily which position she fights better out of mid range or in close range. She improves, in my opinion, throughout the fight. I think she definitely uses the first 1 to 2 rounds to gain that confidence, and then when she'll get going, and that's when she'll be able to, really work things out and have that more so success. She gets her big overhands in. When she does get a big overhands in, that's where she'll be able to land some damaging shots as a result of that, and she did that very well versus Zuniga. She has fast hands. I believe she is the much faster fighter than that of Baumstarh. She has good defense at mid range, like I say, is catching shots well, often just out of range. Like I say, she struggles to then kind of get herself back in range as a result of that, but typically, like I say, she does defend well at a mid range. She lets her hands go. That's definitely something in which, when she's allowed to work and allowed that room, she will let her hands go. And when she will get you up against the ropes, she'll try to let her hands go. Like I say, she can smother it quite often, but she will aim to let her hands go at least. And Baumstarh will do that as well. And I don't think Baumstarh will clinch as much or make it that much more frustrating. I think both of them would be willing to stand and trade, and Cudos has been shown that she'll be willing to go into a war to stand and trade. So that could definitely make this fight, like I mentioned, to be an entertaining contest. She is good at planting her feet, so I believe she does that well. She is often good at, keeping you going back on the back foot, and if she is able to do that versus Baumstarh, that could really nullify a lot of her game. And she is often able to get the better of shots in exchanges. Like I say, when she is trying to stand and trade, she can get the better of shots, like I've touched upon in exchanges. Negatives about her, I think, like I've said a few times, she does definitely struggle to get in range. You can see that a jab is wasteful, not trying to get too close in. I think she can get caught with straight shots herself, and she can be caught coming in. But like I say, when she is trying to get a jab going, it doesn't always do too much. She, like I say, isn't too good fighting in close. I think she looks quite unnatural when she's trying to be physical. When she is, like I say, smothering her work and in clinches, it just doesn't look too comfortable to her, and she doesn't look like she's able to, break out of it and then really come on with a good onslaught of attacks. She looks like she looks just like I say, uncomfortable in a physical part of the fight. She goes back in straight lines. I don't think she works angles incredibly well, in my opinion. She can be caught coming in, and like I say, that can become something that can happen quite often. She can be overreaching, but like I said, kind of touched upon with the jab. She kind of squares up and stops moving against a high output. So if you're coming with a high output, in which Baumstarh normally will, she will often just square up, like I say, try and throw back and just stop moving altogether. And like a touch bump, Cudos will move it back in straight lines. That's not always a good thing, but you'd rather her doing that than just stopping and squaring up and becoming a bigger target when an opponent is throwing a lot, and that's where she can get caught with shots. And against Zuniga, she seemed to get caught with some quite big shots at times where perhaps she could have been damaged a little bit to an extent. And she didn't really go for counters too much, and like I touched upon, she does smother her work. To speak about Baumstarh as a fighter, I think she finds her range better. Like I say, I don't know the official numbers, but I does seem like she is the bigger fighter with the better range, but for the most part, I think she's, like I say, fighting with that will to win and that not really caring about losing too much, and so she's more willing to get inside the front foot, get a shot off, even if she does get caught with a shot. Unlike that of something like Kudos, she, in my opinion, is a stronger hitter. Like I said, I feel like she has a good technique in her shots as well. I think she's definitely going to be turning into her shots that much better than that of Baumstarh, and also has a more varied approach with better hooks, in my opinion, than that of Kudos. She is, again, like I say, come forwards. I think she's the more physical one, who looks the more natural whilst being physical. She, again, catches her shots very well. She can fight at the mid or an in close range, and again, like I say, I won't say which one is particularly better than the other one, but I feel like they're a bit more better, well-rounded as a whole. She does often make you miss quite wide with her shots when she is, just staying out of range of them when she is fighting at mid range, and she changes levels very well. Something that I've seen, which is a common thing, which is an impressive thing still at the same time. Then when she plants her feet and twists into her shots, she'll go to the body, she'll then loop a hook back over the top, and that's where she can do a lot of her damage, and that's where she was able to have a lot of success in her last fight. And so, like I say, definitely that much more punishing in close. Negatives about her, I think she can definitely be held at a jab. That jab may need to be a bit stronger and thrown with a bit more intent than that of what we have seen Cudos doing so far, but she can be held at a jab. She has wide hooks at times, so Cudos might be able to see them and be just out of range for them. She has the messier footwork out of the two of them, and I think she will stagger around a little bit at times, so Cudos perhaps has the capabilities to make her look a little bit silly at times if she is showcasing that more, like I said, messier footwork. She leaves her head open. I think she doesn't deal with head movement too well, and that's where her accuracy can drop off. And Kudos isn't really amazing, but if she can get it going, she can get caught coming forwards. If she can't outwill you, and if you aren't going to give her that level of respect, then I feel like it could be a much tougher fight for her. So perhaps to an extent, if Kudos does kind of come and stand and trade, then maybe she might be have to have that more success. I'm not normally one to recommend a fighter just standing straight on and trading, but perhaps that could work better. I'm not too sure. And she does force to stoppage as well. From what I've seen, she is a bit more, rushing in when she does get you hurt, and perhaps to an extent that's why she can get more stoppages, but that might not work as she progresses along the levels. Kudos is the favourite for this fight, and I think that Baumstarh will win via TKO in round 6. Yes, I think she's going to be able to get yet another KO, moving on to 8 KOs in her last 11 performances, if I am correct, with again another stoppage victory where, like I've touched upon, I think Baumstarh is going to have the better success in close, and I think Kudos, especially going into the mid to later rounds, she is going to get that more confident in wanting to let her hands go that bit more, and I think her movement is going to slow down. And if anything goes off her last performance, then I think she is going to be consistently caught with shots over and over again, and I think Baumstarh is going to be that much heavier of a hitter that I don't think Kudos is going to be able to take them consecutive shots over and over again, and Baumstarh would then become a world champion. She would upset the apple cart to an extent and beat the unbeaten Kudos, who definitely would have been the favourite for this fight. And then she, again, like I say, if she is able to get another stoppage victory, then really create a bit of a name for herself. And then I suppose if you look upon who she could go on to fight next, of course there are a few Mexican fighters who she could go on to fight. Carrega, 7-0 Mexican, that could be a fight. Like I mentioned, there's a few other Mexican fighters that could be there to fight. Tsunami is a fighter. She's a 40-year-old Japanese fighter who her last loss was against Sinisa Estrada. Perhaps that could happen. I think she's gotten a couple wins in her most recent fights, so maybe we could see that happen as a first defense of the title. It will be interesting to see, like I've touched upon, all these new champions, if they how eager they are to go and unify the division, go and try and get undisputed, or if they're just gonna all have their own mandatories, maybe one or two mandatories before they go on to fight for the other belts. So we will have to wait and see. Or of course, Yocasta Valle could be a fight that could happen. Of course, WBC champion now in the minimum weight division, and definitely will be perhaps liking the look of a challenge of somebody who is going and getting stoppage victories, but probably would look at a kind of face value and see the 6 defeats on her record as well. So she might favour herself and overlook somebody like a Baumstarh, but I'm not too sure. I think it's definitely, like I touched upon, an interesting time in this women's minimum weight division, and hopefully within the next few fights we might see a bit more of a a pattern or a routine or something, we might see a little bit more of what's actually going to happen, because at the moment we're just seeing these names kind of appear out of nowhere and fighting for titles at the moment. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like video if you did need a like video, subscribe if you are new, and thanks for watching.